The White House is extremely concerned because now they're telling us that we are seeing a likelihood of increased attacks. Yes, this is true. But I want to break down where this is coming from, how this is going to impact you, and what this means for our government funding bill that has to be passed within the next month. There's a lot of stuff happening here. This is really going to impact millions and millions of people, and this could be bad. So make sure you stick around and watch this entire video. All I ask is one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now, let's begin. So here's where things are at right now. The White House and Congress are struggling to scramble at the last moment to get a deal done for additional funding for Ukraine in exchange for immigration protection and additional security at the border. Now, here's what's going on. Right now, we know that Congress wants to pass additional funding for Ukraine at the tune of about $100 billion. It's about $106 billion. It's money for Ukraine, for Israel, for humanitarian aid, and for other things as well. But that's a huge package. That's $100 billion more than what people were expecting because there was an agreement a couple months ago, actually a few months back, and it was with then Speaker Kevin McCarthy and current President Biden. This was a handshake deal. Look at this. This is from The Hill. It says, fallout rises from McCarthy handshake deal with the White House. Now, what does this mean? Well, it's actually pretty simple. Former Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who actually announced that he is going to pretty much end his run in Congress at the end of this year, he had a deal with President Biden and the White House. And this deal involved a certain number that they were willing to hit as far as government spending for fiscal year 2024, which is what they're negotiating now. The reason this is a problem is because this deal that was made, we do not know the specifics of it. It was between two people, Kevin McCarthy and President Biden. Neither one has really spoke about it. But now we're hearing from lawmakers saying that this was the deal that was agreed to. Now they have to stick with it. But nobody really knows the deal. That's concerning. Well, I want to read you this. Okay? And the reason why I want to read you this is because this is going to play a major role as to what we see in the upcoming government funding bill. And if we see cuts in order to accommodate for the $100 billion potentially going to Ukraine and Israel. Because according to Reuters just today, they are saying that the White House is saying we are anticipating an increased number of attacks. These are missile and drone attacks by Russians in Ukraine. And I want to read you a couple statements. One is from the U.S. Spokesperson John Kirby, and he told reporters just today, he says, we don't have too many more weeks left in this year to be able to provide security assistance. So I would fully expect that you're going to see us announce additional security assistance before the end of the month. Now, they also went on to talk about additional $50+ billion for Ukraine, but it says our own national security is at stake in Ukraine. Putin has indicated that if he is successful there, he has designs on other Eastern European countries who are members of NATO and who we are obligated to defend. Says it would be indefinitely more expensive in every way not to act on this supplemental funding. Now, where do we go from here? Just that statement alone, and according to Pentagon officials and other leaders around the world, yes, the United States has to do more to defend Ukraine, because if we don't, and this is where things could get very dicey, Russia could hit other countries, potentially a NATO member. And like President Biden has stated, he is committed to defend every inch of NATO territory. So attack on one NATO member is an attack on all NATO members, which we are a part of. This is concerning. But again, it all comes down to this government funding bill, the handshake deal that President Biden and then Speaker Kevin McCarthy had. Let's read this article from The Hill. It says right here, lawmakers in both parties are growing increasingly concerned about where a handshake deal between the White House and former Speaker Kevin McCarthy on spending stands as they negotiate how the government should be funded next year. It says the Biden administration and House GOP leadership worked to pass legislation known as the Fiscal Responsibility Act, the FRA, in late spring as part of a larger deal to suspend the debt ceiling, which they have, and set budget caps for Congress to work from when it hashes out its full year funding bills months later, which they have done. They passed certain provisions, but the issue is this expires on January 19th. So a little bit over 1 month. We got about 5 weeks, and then this will expire. It says down here, but now that Congress is trying to ramp up its annual appropriations work, critical components of that months-old deal that were not reflected in the law are in question as ultra-conservatives in pursuit of steeper cuts amid climbing debt say Speaker Mike Johnson is not beholden to what Democrats say is the full commitment made by McCarthy. Although one Democrat from Hawaii says, a deal is a deal is a deal. Now, also goes on to say, I think there's no way we're going to get to an appropriations deal if people can't hold to their commitments. Keep this in mind. It was President Biden and then Speaker Kevin McCarthy who is going to resign at the end of this year, which means he isn't beholden to anything. He's not committing to anything because now we have a new speaker. And so this is the concern, is that right now the White House and Congress are trying to get this last minute deal approved. But Congress has already said, and they are adamant behind this, there has to be something in regards to U.S. immigration. And this is coming from Democrats as well, that there are too many people coming into this country illegally. We are seeing record numbers. 12,000 people in a single day coming into the United States. That's what we are seeing. That's the concern. So what I can tell you moving forward is there is a massive concern, okay? The White House is extremely worried that if we do not pass additional funding for Ukraine, then Russia could potentially attack in a NATO ally. If they do, the U.S. would need to get involved, and this spokesperson, John Kirby, is saying that if we have to get involved, it's going to be a lot more expensive than just this additional $50 to $60 billion that we may invest now. So, I want to know your thoughts. Do you think this is something that we should really be concerned with? Or do you think it's okay? We will be perfectly fine. Well, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. But as always, that is what we know as of today. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.